Hey there, Dr. Brian McKay, Core Health in Darien. Today, we're going to talk about intermittent fasting. Is it good or bad for you? Well, there's going to be conflicting advice out there. So let's start with the bad. Let's give you the bad news first today. If you are type 2 diabetic, you really need to check with your doctor. Okay? Intermittent fasting is a wonderful way to lose weight, manage your blood sugar. It's phenomenal, but you got to understand you are in a disease state as it is, and the last thing you need to do is complicate that any further. So, if you are type 2 diabetic, perhaps, well, not perhaps, your best interest is to get yourself checked out, talk to your endocrinologist. And the reason I say endocrinologist is that, insulin's a hormone. These people are more specialized than a GP. I mean, off the top, you would think, hey, it's fantastic. Get yourself some, lose some weight, feel better, sleep better, all the benefits we know about intermittent fasting, but it's not necessarily true for diabetics. So, because in some sense, intermittent fasting might produce hypoglycemia, which is too low blood sugar in the body. So, just caution: if you're type 2 diabetic, you need to see a doctor before you go about starting the program. I don't want to see anybody get hurt, do any damage to themselves as it is. And again, if your primary care doctor, maybe they're really up on stuff. If they are, great. Then you could take all their advice. But do not take advice from me if you're intermittent. Here's my advice: if you're intermittent fasting and you're type 2 diabetic, don't go see your doctor first. I know it's kind of the easy way out of a tough question, but it is the buzzword these days. Intermittent fasting, 16-8. So easy to do. But let's see how it affects on the say you're pre-diabetic. Okay, intermittent fasting affects insulin. How it does is insulin makes fat. So the more insulin you make, the more fat you store. And during intermittent fasting, the periods where you're not eating, the body has time to lower its insulin levels, which increases the fat storing process. Okay, you stop storing fat, you stop burning it. I've heard it takes about 12 hours to deplete the liver of glycogen. That's the converted carbohydrate that gets stored as energy in the liver. When that happens, it's going to go into your fat stores. You're not going to see a precipitous drop in weight, but it's more something over time you will see it. So basically, when your insulin levels drop, the process goes in reverse and you lose weight. Okay? So intermittent fasting has major benefits in insulin resistance. It can lead to impressive reduction in blood sugar levels. It's just that it's a fantastic way to go about cutting that blood sugar. High blood sugar will definitely increase the oxidation, which is the aging of your cells and body, and puts you into inflammatory state. And intermittent fast is probably one of the best diets to help your cells respond to insulin. Your cells respond by receiving glucose from your bloodstream. This gives you the energy you need, and what you don't use, it gets stored as fat. So you definitely want to, you definitely want to be in that intermittent fast. It's real simple: 16 hours off, 8 hours on. I guess sometimes people lose some hair. That's actually one of the few. It's kind of a rare thing, but you definitely want to lose. Well, you did make your mind up. You'd rather be fat or bald. I guess it's a tough question. Everybody wants to be perfect, but you have to consider this is, some of the questions we get here at Core Health, is definitely a little bit different. So a couple different ways to do it. Women don't need the 16-8. I think they can go 14, 14 and 10 and still do pretty good. It's not a terrible difference. And, but again, this is a lifestyle more so than a diet. So you really want to make sure you're upfront about that with people and look at a new lifestyle. It could be the new you, minus a few dress sizes or a few waist sizes. So it really is that good. And let me tell you why. I mean, I guess what people don't really realize is that your blood work, your A1C, which kind of tells you how sticky your blood is or how viscous. You don't want your blood thick like oil for your car. But that's one of the benefits is some of the numbers that you're going to see after doing the diet for several months. You're not going to see it that quickly, but you're going to see decreased level of triglycerides and the bad cholesterol. And you should also probably see, besides the weight loss, you won't really see a reduction in insulin resistance. It's more just how you feel otherwise. Your body's not going to have to work as hard, but you're going to have reduced blood pressure. So it's kind of easy. I mean, now there is a variation where people would fast like completely for 1 to 2 days a week as well. So they call it it's called the 5-2 diet, and the 5-2 diet that means you're going to be fasting. You're going to maintain your fast, and you will drop weight a lot quicker with this. I can tell you that much. Where you fast, for 5 days, in 2 days you really go down to 0 calories, and those days could be in order or apart, but it's the type of way if you really want to drop weight. You got a wedding to go to, a reunion, something you really want to impress people. You really may want to consider the 5-2 things, the 5-2 type of intermittent fasting. There's going to be tons. Actually, let's go back. I mean, one of the better things is, if you're having, if you have like, you're pre-diabetic. Pre-diabetic is basically when your blood sugar is over 100 to 126. 126, you really are in a diabetic state. Now, there's going to be people argue with what's the normal on that level, but again, it depends on who your doctor is. But it really is more of a way to prevent diabetes from coming on, because you're not going to burn out these islets of Langerhans, which are cells in the pancreas that help produce the insulin. So this is a lifespan. All of a sudden, you can't produce anymore. As insulin, as you well know, or should know, is a hormone, and tells the body when to store fat, and helps convert, tells the brain to, the brain tells the body when to convert carbs to fat to store it for another day. So it's pretty effective for, staying off of it, to avoid, diabetes. I think everybody should be scared of diabetes, because it's bad news. I mean, diabetes is going to mess you up. Diabetes and heart. I mean, you can watch TV and see the fat people on I lowered my cholesterol by eating Honey Nut Cheerios. Well, I'll sell you a bridge if you really believe that one. But for the most part, I mean, the way intermittent fasting, some things will happen in your body. The insulin levels drop, and that makes it easier to burn fat. Hands down, more insulin, harder to burn. There are suggestions that the blood levels of growth hormone increase exponentially, and the higher levels of growth hormone in your body, we talk about muscle gain, better performance, fat burning. So that's a pretty good argument. I'm talking about people who aren't diabetic, okay? And again, it's the pre-diabetics, or somebody who just wants to stay healthy. And I'm sure it's going to slow down the aging process, because not necessarily the aging process from your face, but internally. And again, the less oxidative stress you have on the body, the more it's going to perform better. So the other thing too is you're going to get a better cellular response, in that cells are working constantly, getting, moving nutrients in, moving the garbage out, moving nutrients in, moving the garbage out, and it becomes more efficient. So the body becomes much more, much more. Now, there is a suggestion, and studies, I haven't read the studies, but the report is that several genes and molecules related to longevity, which are protection against disease, that you'll see in a stronger gene expression. And that's a whole complicated thing to to get in. But I mean, so understand your insulin levels drop and human growth hormone increases. I mean, I think a while, it wasn't that long ago that HGH, human growth hormone, was a diet. You can, it was probably all over the internet. As a matter of fact, if you just type in HGH diet, these people are, whether injecting themselves with HGH or going to their, the weight loss doctors to do that. And, you know, it's pretty drastic to bring in, extra, you want to stimulate hormone production naturally. So, look forward to these benefits. You can lose weight and belly fat. That's, and here's how: you're going to eat fewer meals. And the only thing is you really can't compensate by eating tons more. So it's not like a license to. It's not a license to eat more when you come off. It's almost like you got to eat smarter because hey, you still need your vegetables, you still need your protein and carbohydrates. Well, we all know carbohydrates are not going to be that good for you, but if you get a better balance when you're when you are breaking your fast, you're going to see some really good improvements. Now here's another really important thing to consider is you can raise this, again, I'm quoting other people's studies. You can increase your metabolic rate by like 3.5 to 14%. When that happens, you're going to burn more calories. Okay, which means think of a furnace um, burning more fuel. Okay, but the fuel is coming from your fat stores, not from which is really what you want it to come from. At least I do. Um, so there's the thing too is you're not going to lose weight overnight. It just doesn't happen. And if you're patient about it, you're going to see the results. It's a good thing. It's just give it time, but it's a healthier way to lose weight. I mean, if you go on a diet real quickly and lose weight, what happens? It's going to come back. If it's just the water weight alone that you lost, and you get that tremendous drop on the scale, well, boom, here's your way of, it ain't, like I said, this is a much better way, and lose that belly fat. Now the summer's close to, half over, you know, so it's again, I want to touch back on lowering the risk of type 2 diabetes. The type 2 is rampant. You want to avoid it. Um, it helps with insulin resistance and can reduce the blood sugar levels. Cannot state the importance of that enough. And your blood sugar, the fasting blood sugar, typically in studies are shown to be reduced by 3 to 6%. Well, that doesn't that's not going to get you into heaven. Well, if you don't take care of your blood sugar, you might be getting to heaven a little bit sooner. But the fasting insulin has been reduced up to 20 to 30%. And that's a big number. So this is something you can't see, feel, or touch, but that means you're operating a whole lot better. Um, and the other thing too to consider is diabetes really affects the kidneys. You go to dialysis units, and a lot of those people are diabetics. And then also too, not to scare you off the diabetic thing, but maybe it should scare you. How many people are losing limbs to amputation because of the problems that are related to diabetes? It happens enough, and you should be concerned about it. I mean, put down that cigarette and put away that Hershey bar. Get out there on the exercise bike or just walk around. Um, so intermittent fasting can be a protective mechanism by reducing insulin, and also to bring down blood sugar levels. And blood sugar levels, again, you can see that in a blood test at fasting. If you do it over a period of 3 to 4 months, I would imagine it's safe to say 3 to 6%. While again, it doesn't sound like a lot, um, it's significant. And I mentioned before about oxidative stress. Oxidation is just simply very easy to understand. You cut an apple open and you leave it on the side of your sink or on a plate. You see it turn brown. That's oxidation. The cells are dying. So that protective skin is now broken, and you can see it die. And that's what happens to our bodies. Probably not that quickly, thank God. But you have to understand oxidative stress and inflammation. And you're going to hear inflammation more and more because these drive a lot of common diseases. So you really need to keep your inflammation down. Inflammation, like heart's inflamed. If you're in, if your arteries are inflamed, you're going to accumulate more plaquing of the arteries. And plaquing is not coming from fat; it's coming from the carbohydrates more so than anything else. So, you know, intermittent fasting is going to help with to lower oxidative stress. Pretty good. Inflammation reduced. Pretty strong argument for it. Again, if you're diabetic, you're type 2 diabetic, you really, really have to check with your doctor. Do not take this. Like I said earlier, don't. Talk to your doctor, talk to your endocrinologist, find somebody who's knowledgeable about the subject and get their advice after they see your blood work. You need to do that. And there's other risk factors too, between, the cholesterol, triglycerides, inflammatory markers, all of these things affect your heart. So if you're concerned about heart disease, and you should be because it's world's biggest killer is heart disease, know that intermittent fasting helps blood pressure, cholesterol level, triglycerides, inflammatory markers, and oxidative stress. So what else can it do for you? All right, here we're going to get a little autophagy, autophagey. What happens when you're fasting, you're going to get the garbage out of your cells quicker, okay? And the suggestion here is that it's going to help provide protection. It's not going to prevent you from ever getting it, but it can provide additional protection against cancer and Alzheimer's. I think that's some of the stuff you really have to be concerned with is, cancer and Alzheimer's is devastating. I mean, but what happens is if you get the garbage out, when the cells become gunked up and they're not working properly because they're not receiving the neurotransmitters, which are hormones, but intermittent fasting triggers a metabolic pathway called autophagy, which removes waste material from the cells and it ramps it up. So what happens is you're able to, get rid of the bad stuff in the cells. So you metabolize the waste or the dysfunctional proteins that build up in cells over time, and that's going to help reduce a lot of, it's going to make you a hell of a lot healthier. It's not something you can see, feel, or touch, but over a period of time, you start feeling better. People start noticing that you'll definitely feel better. I guess I got to throw one in here. Sleeping is definitely going to get better. Your sleeping is going to get a whole lot better when you do intermittent fasting. So it may help prevent cancer. That's a big, animal studies are where we're at with that. It's not it's so why. So just know intermittent fasting has been shown to help prevent cancer in animal studies. Some suggestion it reduces the side effects caused by chemotherapy. So what else is left? Well, intermittent fasting is good for your brain. It's good for the body. It's good for the brain. Your brain develops plaques at night when you don't get that garbage out of the cells, and it turns into the amyloid plaques that showed to be around in people's brains on autopsy, but also through imaging in the brain of people with Alzheimer's or some of those neurodegenerative diseases. So you're reducing the oxidative stress, reducing inflammation, reducing the blood sugar, increasing insulin resistance. It is vital for brain health. So what's the argument against it? Well, actually, one of my last podcasts was about BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and so it stimulates. That's a mice study. Okay, they haven't done it in humans yet, but it's pretty helpful. And in the mice, in the animal studies, also shows that it can protect the brain against damage due to strokes. So I think you got enough information here to arm yourself. Takeaway: type 2 diabetic, you go check with your doctor. Don't take Dr. Brian's advice, please. I'm Dr. Brian McKay, Core Health in Darien. I know it went a little long today, but hopefully you get the idea. Look into it. It's so simple to follow. You don't have to pay anybody anything to lose weight. And try intermittent fasting. It can change your life for the better and will change your life for the better, especially if you stick to it as a lifestyle. So let's not call it intermittent fasting diet, intermittent fasting lifestyle. Thanks very much. Brian McKay, Core Health Darien. I'm a chiropractor. If you have any questions, 203-656-3636. 203-656-3636. Thank you for listening. Have a great day and start your fast.